There are many advantages to using the salt version of 5-MeO-DMT as opposed to the Freebase version, but if you currently do have the Freebase version, it is actually very simple to convert to the salt. And I'm going to show you right now how to do that in a few minutes in a very easy and simple way. So first of all, of course, you're going to need some 5-MeO-DMT. In this case, you have the Freebase version. And what you are going to want to do is measure out the dosage before doing the conversion. And for that, you are going to need an accurate milligram scale, and including a scoop to help you out with the measurement there. And then you're going to want to dissolve the 5-MeO-DMT in a solution, which in this case is simple household vinegar that you can buy from any grocery store. Now, what you're going to want as well is a small 1 milliliter syringe with no needle on it. And what you want to do is measure out approximately 0.3 milliliters, which is a very tiny amount. I found that it doesn't matter exactly how much vinegar you use, but somewhere between 0.2 and 0.4 would be good. And in this case, we're working with an 16 milligram dose of 5-MeO-DMT, which is quite a moderate but still very strong dose that you're working with of this sacred substance. Now, once you've filled approximately 0.3 milliliters of vinegar in the syringe, you're going to add it to your 5-MeO-DMT, and you simply squirt it onto that, and you can see it is quite clumpy at the moment. Once you add the vinegar, it will start to dissolve, but you'll find that it won't just easily be absorbed into the liquid, and that is why you are going to need a pick of some kind. Anything will do. It's nice to use a somewhat decorated pick if you can, just to set a good intention and vibe for your upcoming experience. But really any pick will do. A toothpick will do, a sturdy little wire will do. In this case it's copper, which is very nice because bacteria cannot live on copper, which just makes things more hygienic in general. So what you're going to want to do is use the pick to crush up these little clumps of 5-MeO-DMT, and as you do so, the vinegar will turn the color of your 5-MeO-DMT, which is this sort of yellowish brownish color. And the more careful you are, the finer you can get this powder, and you can stir it. After some time, in my experience, you end up with a solution that is sort of like that, which still has some tiny grains in it, but really it's hard to now break those apart with a little pick. I've experimented with using a substance like this, which is mostly dissolved, but still with little grains in it, and it works perfectly well. There's no burning associated with it at all, and really it does the job amazingly. And just for the last step, take the same syringe again, fill it back up, and it is quite okay if you now have some small grains of 5-MeO-DMT left. What you are now left with is this syringe of approximately 0.3 milliliters of a dissolved 5-MeO-DMT salt. What you can now also do if you want to further dissolve some of these tiny grains that are left in the syringe is take your pick, stick it in there, and crush them up a little bit more, as they are now concentrated at the bottom of the syringe and they're more easy to find and break apart. Also, you can leave this overnight just so that slowly the Freebase version can dissolve more and more into the salt. But I would not worry about it too much if there's still some grains left. That is perfectly okay. It won't cause any burning. And this is ready to go for you to go experience a divine white light or whatever intention you have set for yourself. So go and enjoy, be a service to humanity, and be sure to do good from the insights you have from this really sacred, powerful entheogen. So that is the main part of the video finished, but for a little bonus edition, I wanted to add, because I noticed when fact-checking everything I said earlier, many people on forums and online in general, they say you need a lot more vinegar than I recommended, because I recommended around 0.3 milliliters for a dose of around 17 milligrams of 5-MeO-DMT, very roughly. But other people say you need a whole lot more, and in fact they recommend a whole milliliter, so you'd be filling up that entire syringe with vinegar. So firstly, generally we do want to minimize the amount of vinegar we use, because when we're plugging it, we of course want things just to be as clean and as comfortable as possible, and we definitely want to avoid leaking, as that would be very messy and uncomfortable and just kind of ruin our beautiful divine trip. So adding unnecessary amounts of extra vinegar is thus, because of those reasons, undesirable. So I decided to get to the bottom of all of this by myself and get my intellectual hat on, and did some chemistry calculations myself. So let's find out how much vinegar do we actually need. So 5-MeO-DMT has the chemical formula of C13H18N2O. The active ingredient of vinegar, which is acetic acid, that equals CH3COOH. If we look at a periodic table, then the molar mass of 5-MeO-DMT equals 218.3 grams per mole, and the molar mass of vinegar is 60.052 grams per mole. So, how much vinegar solution do we need to dissolve a big dose of 20 milligrams of 5-MeO-DMT Freebase? So if we go to year 12 chemistry, the amount of moles of 5-MeO-DMT is equal to the mass of the 5-MeO-DMT divided by the molar mass of 5-MeO-DMT, which is of course equal to 0.02 grams over 218.3, which gives us a small number, 0.0009162 moles. Now, I couldn't find this on the internet, but it seems to me from my year 12 chemistry that the acetic acid 5-MeO-DMT reaction would be a 1-to-1 ratio. Therefore, we also need the same amount of moles for the reaction for the vinegar. So that's the same amount of moles. Awesome. So now using the same equation again, but rearranging for the mass of the vinegar. The mass of the vinegar is equal to the molar mass of the vinegar times by the moles of the vinegar, which is equal to 60.052 times our moles, which is equal to 0.00551 grams, or 5.51 milligrams, which if we fact check makes sense because Vinegar is about a third, less than a third, the molar mass of 5-MeO-DMT, so we would need much less of it than we do of the DMT. So that's how much mass of vinegar we need, but how much solution of vinegar do we need? So most vinegars, although this does vary, vinegar equals 5% of weight to volume, and this is confusing to me. This is a bit strange, which means grams over 100 milliliters. That's a bit confusing. In other words, we have 5 equals our weight over volume. So the volume is equal to 0.00551 over 5, which is equal to 0.0011, this is confusing, 100 milliliters, which if we convert to just milliliters is 0.11 milliliters. And there you go. So even for a massive dose, a very big dose of 20 milligrams, all we need is this much vinegar. So with those calculations, we have now established that even for a large dose of 20 milligrams of 5-MeO-DMT, we only need 0.11 milliliters of vinegar, approximately, because things are varying. The vinegar might be weaker or stronger. You know, those are all slight variations, but we can be sure that for even a large dose of 5-MeO-DMT, 20 milliliters of vinegar will be more than enough, almost always. But I would still recommend you use a bit more than 0.11 milliliters, because we need to dissolve the 5-MeO-DMT salt into the solution, which is mostly water, and if we don't have enough vinegar, the salt will just precipitate. So there is of course more water inside of you though, so once you apply it, then the remaining precipitation of the salt, it will dissolve into your bloodstream after it first dissolves into just your general fluids, I guess. But everything I did there, it was good fun to do those calculations as a sanity check, but let's fall back to the most basic of knowledge, which is user experience and practicality. So for those reasons, I would still recommend what I said initially and use around 0.3 milliliters of standard strength vinegar that you can just buy from a grocery store. Because if you do this, you definitely have enough vinegar to change the freebase into a salt. You'll have enough solution to dissolve most of the salt, 5-MeO-DMT, and from experience, there is absolutely no burning sensation involved at all by using this much vinegar, even if there might be a slight excess of the vinegar. Anyway, that's it for this bonus section of the video and for the video as a whole. And once again, I'll just end by saying have a very beautiful 5-MeO-DMT experience when you go ahead with it. Go experience higher consciousness for yourself and use the insights and the healing which you experience, use that to be an outpouring fountain of love unto the world and be a blessing to all and be in service to all.